CTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country.
The director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, would go on calling it the nation's top threat, pointing directly to Afghan refugees let in by President Biden after the Taliban takeover, the disastrous exit. Let's bring in the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. And director, I think you were probably one of the only ones not shocked by that number. I was stunned by it.
You know, it points to the heightened domestic threat that we face that is not often talked about or addressed, but obviously because of the recent tragedy really has come into focus on how many people have come into our country under the previous administration who have known or suspected ties to terrorists, to Islamist terrorists and jihadi groups like al-Qaeda and ISIS, and how many of those who we don't even know about, given we had tens of millions of people illegally crossing our borders over the last 4 years. President Trump has been very intent on keeping his promise to the American people to make America safe again so that people can feel safe in their homes and in their communities, identifying those who we know are either connected directly to these terrorist groups or those who have ties to them. This is what we're focused on, working with the Department of Homeland Security to identify them and deport them to prevent any further attacks here at home.
I know we're throwing out about 1,000 a week. It was 600 a week, so the paces are picking up. We've gotten rid of 690,000 illegals so far in about a year. Do you know how many of the 18,000 we've tossed, caught up to, and got rid of or jailed?
We are currently working very hard to make this happen. I don't have the latest number exactly, but I can tell you that this needs to happen very, very quickly. Again, I want to point back to that summer and fall of 2021 after President Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. You know, there were over 100,000 people who came into our country because of that disastrous withdrawal. I'll tell you, the vast majority of them were not properly vetted. They certainly were not vetted at anywhere near the standard that we require under this administration of allowing people into our country. And of that number, we know that there are at least 2,000 who are here who have ties to or are known or suspected terrorists. Which is unbelievable. So you have 88,000 who came on the Afghan evacuation program, and you're saying most have not been accurately vetted. Some have already proven themselves in the battlefield with people that you know are friends and you serve too, and you don't want to leave them to die in Afghanistan. What percentage can we vouch for, and what percentage are totally unknown? Because of the very irresponsible and dangerous approach that the Biden administration took, we don't actually know the answer to that. This is why, through our National Counterterrorism Center, we are going through and working with our partners in the FBI and Department of Homeland Security in going and actually re-vetting every single one of these individuals. We've got to realize of what's happening here within the context of the greater threat that we face. We know that al-Qaeda and ISIS continue to actively plot attacks against our homeland. And so when you look at the spread of the radical Islamist ideology and their propagation of it, you look at active plots and they're looking for people who can carry out those plots. This is why we are so intently focused on this threat that remains the greatest near and long-term threat, not only to the safety and security of the American people, but to the foundational freedoms that exist within our Constitution and Western civilization. So the gunning down of two of our National Guard members, one is clinging to life and the other one, sadly, lost her life, really resonates, I imagine, with you, because you're in the National Guard. And I was stunned by this exchange. I want you to hear Democratic Congressman Benny Thompson, who had to get to the bottom of the January 6th, whatever that was, the riots at the Capitol, describing what was the incident, he says, the incident a few weeks ago. Listen to this exchange.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our
respond.
National Guardsman in the head.
Never got it straight. He doubled and tripled down on it. How does that resonate, not only with you as DNI, but how about you as the National Guard's person who's serving this country?
Brian, it is absolutely infuriating. This is someone who is a very, very senior leader in Congress, who for a long time has led the Homeland Security Committee in Congress. And the fact that he cannot and refuses to directly identify this attack for what it was, a terrorist attack on our own soil against our National Guard men and women in this case, who are putting their lives on the line. Their direct mission was to keep the American people safe right here on our streets in Washington, D.C. This exchange really points to the egregious and longstanding problem, Brian, that we've seen, which is leaders, some on both sides of the aisle, who refused to identify this Islamist terrorist threat for exactly what it is, which is one of the reasons why we find ourselves in the position that we're in today.
To think that was an incident and you can't say an assassination or murder is unbelievable. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.